for your introduction. My topic is about multiple pregnancy. And multiple pregnancy has increased greatly around the world due to the advancement of infertility treatment since 1970s. Both egg stimulation drug and multiple embryo transfer during IVF increase the opportunity for multiple births and multiple pregnancy. Twins and triplets are much more visible than before, and cases of octuplets, A-babies, continue to show on the headline news, such as the photo I show in the bottom. They were born on the US in 2009. So it's well documented that how multiple pregnancy and births enhance infant and maternal mortality and morbidity. So the international medical community regards multiple pregnancy as the leading complication of ARTs. And they started to take action, for example, to initiate the practice of fetal reduction and to limit the number of embryo transfers during the IVF. I use multiple pregnancy as an illuminating example of disrupted reproduction. Feminist scholarship has forcefully advocated that focusing on what happens when reproduction becomes problematized could serve as a fruitful site to reveal the interlocking culture and power. So I share this insight and argue that in this case, the medical calculation of health risk of multiple pregnancy is not directly translated as disruption in some contexts. Instead, it's the specific reproductive politics, including how to frame specific reproductive phenomena as problematic and how to mobilize certain resources for action that make multiple pregnancies distressing and in need of regulatory action to change. And this issue has its specific East Asian context, and this graph is made by John Ott, and she showed me the data, asked me to do some research, and so she inspired me a lot. When the international data first became available, it came out that Taiwan has the highest number of multiple embryo transfer during the IVF, followed by US and Korea. And at that time, already some Nordic countries started to practice limiting the numbers to 2 or even 1. So in this research, these papers, I would like to analyze how Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea govern the health risk of multiple pregnancy. So the instance of multiple births in IVF varies around the world and within the East Asia. So you can see the red line. That's for Japan, and this table shows the multiple birth rate in IVF and ICSI. Japan has the lowest rate nowadays, less than 3%. But in Taiwan, the green line, and in South Korea, the blue line, we often have 30% of chances to have multiple births through IVF. And each country has different ideas about how to limit the clinical procedures. You can see that Japan has the medical guideline in 1996, which was the first in East Asia. And they revised the guideline again in 2007. Taiwan had the guideline, the medical guideline in 2005, and it became part of the law in 2007. And South Korea didn't have any guideline until 2008. So my question is that why did Japan start the self-regulation so early and strictly, and Taiwan and Korea so late and leniently? And how has multiple pregnancy been framed and become a matter of concern in the three countries? What are the mechanisms through which different historical configuration of the actors, the state, the medical society, NGO, legislators, and sometimes international organizations have controlled the clinical procedures to reduce the risk. So I think the three countries' very diverse regulatory trajectories of multiple pregnancy illustrate the primacy and features of reproductive politics in East Asia. So the following data include archival data, participant observation, and some in-depth interviews. I collected data in Taiwan since 2007. Later I conducted some new research with my Japanese colleagues and Korean colleagues. And so we interviewed, sometimes together, but sometimes separately, with some doctors, scholars, bureaucrats, NGOs, and media, and who have been involved in the multiple pregnancy issues. So let's start from Japan. Japan's, I think, first widely reported case is this quintuplets, five babies in Kagoshima in 1976. And the mother of the five babies had average stimulation drug, which led to the multiple births of 2 boys and 3 girls. Although there were some concerns about the side effects of the new infertility treatment at that time, most media followed the story with curiosity and joy. So multiple pregnancy and births were not yet problematized very much. And I think 2 other cases, controversy cases, set up the important backgrounds for the Japanese medical society to take action. The first case I would say is Dr. Nei's introduction of fetal reduction in Japan. In 1982, Dr. Nei from Nagoya had a woman patient who became pregnant with 4 fetuses and later gave birth to 3 healthy babies and 1 baby with serious disability. And 4 years later, in 1986, another woman receiving infertility treatment from Dr. Nei also became pregnant with 4 fetuses. So this time, given the previous troubling result, Dr. Nei decided to reduce the fetuses from 4 to 2. I think possibly the first ever case in Japan. So the media in Japan widely reported this case. And this triggered the Japan Association of Obstetrics and Gynecology for Maternal Protection, JAOGMP, which had been in charge of the issuing certificates for abortion since late 1940s. And the organization criticized Dr. Nei as having violated the abortion law. Abortion has been legalized in Japan since 1948. One of the earliest in East Asia. So the medical society argued that the method of fetal reduction did not fit in with the definition of abortion, since the fetus died within the womb rather than being expelled from the pregnant woman's body. But it's more about like the power of the medical society over the doctors, rather than, I think, abortion, the definition of abortion itself. And it's also related with like the professional boundary work between this organization and another organization, the leading organization in Japan, the Japan Society of OBGYN. And the second background is about the first test tube baby in Japan. And the baby was born in 1983, and Professor Suzuki from Tohoku University reported the first case. At that time, Japanese have been worried about the birth of IVF babies. They were afraid that this new medical innovation might lead to some disability issues. For example, the Tohoku University hospital has a survey for 300 women, And you can see that the first one, like almost 70% of the women saying that the most worried item is about deformed babies. So because of this worry, the university-based medical teams initiated some code of practice to respond to the social doubts. So I think both the issues paved the way for Japan's Society of Obstetric Gynecology to set up some system, including the accreditation system, but which is very lenient. You just have to report your clinic to the society. You register as a clinic that is going to practice IVF. But the society also set up a voluntary registry since 1988 in order to get the data and report the data to the public. Also, the society had done some surveys, especially on fetal reductions in 1990s. And they found out that it's quite frequently practiced in order to deal with the problems of higher order pregnancy. So it's not only Dr. Neju, and other doctors may practice this one. So they decided that they have to do something for this multiple pregnancy. So the JSOG first announced the guideline to prevent multiple pregnancy in 1996. And there are two parts. One is about the careful use of egg stimulation drug, because the first case I reported to you is called the quadruples were created by the drug, not by the IVF. But the second one is about number of embryo transfer, and at that time it's a no more than 3. So since it's no more than 3, you can imagine that there will still be high prevalence of twins and triplets. It declined a little bit, not much. So in year 2007, JSOG revised the guideline again, and this time it's toward a single embryo transfer. But according to our research, why Japan has such a strict guideline? This is like a Nordic guideline, the guideline from the Nordic countries. According to this leader in the JSOG, she said the reason why they introduced the single embryo transfer was because the very strong pressure from the neonatologists who take care of the premature babies. At that time, Japan did not have enough personnel in the neonatal intensive care. So the doctors, pediatricians asked the OBGYNs to make a big change to reduce the preterm babies and low birth rate cases, or they cannot handle the burden from the NICU. So it's kind of professional conflicts and pressures that lead at JSOG to change the guideline. And another important background is about subsidy, because if you have a single embryo transfer, the success rate will become lower. At that time, Japanese government initiated a subsidy program to boost the fertility rate. So nowadays, I think 40% of the IVF cycles are covered by the subsidy. So even though it's for the real reason for the subsidy program is to increase the birth rate, but JSOG used this financial support to persuade the medical members to practice a single embryo transfer. So nowadays, Japan have really high percentage of single embryo transfer around the world. You can see that Japan joined Sweden, Australia, to have over 70% of single embryo transfer. And no wonder the multiple birth rate of IVF is under 3%. Let's move to Taiwan, which is a totally different story. In contrast to Japan's strong social suspicions of IVF as a medical innovation, Taiwan regarded it as a technical breakthrough to aim for. Since 1970s, after some diplomatic values of Taiwan in the world, so gaining international visibility through a kind of Asia first. Yesterday is a good Asia first, like Asia first same-sex marriage. But in 70s we have other enthusiasm of Asia first. So we want to have an Asia first medical miracle. So IVF became a new goal to reach. So this is a part of Taiwan's national social technical imaginaries. So in the early 1980s, IVF became a new way to demonstrate the national power. And the first test tube baby was born in 1985. In Colombia, it's January. Ours is April. So Colombia was stronger. So after the successful case, I think the whole country was celebrating this, the birth of the first test tube baby. And we see this as a kind of nationalist glory. We show the news on the Dayline for 7 weeks. So I think IVF as a global nationalist glory helped downplay the side effects of multiple pregnancy in early years. So when doctors, at that time doctors in Taiwan, just like other IVF practitioners around the world, tended to implant more embryos to increase the success rate of pregnancy. And the technology of cryopreservation was not available yet, or not mature yet. So some doctors implanted all the fresh embryos developed in the lab. So therefore, it's not a surprise that right after the birth of first test tube babies in Taiwan, cases of twins, triplets, and quadruplets emerged. And there were some tragedies, such as the death of the multiples happened, but the media seldom condemned the situation. And in 1988, the first case of fetal reproduction was carried out in a medical center in Taiwan. But it did not cause controversy like that in Japan at all. On the contrary, the medical center held a press conference to announce that we have another Taiwan first case. We had a new medical breakthrough to celebrate with. So doctors in Taiwan tended to solve the problems of multiple pregnancy through the fetal reduction and made it cheap and easily accessible. However, when the state started this compulsory registry system in 1998, the data quickly revealed that doctors implanted too many embryos, sometimes more than 9 or 10. But we had fetal reduction, right? But according to my field work, although fetal reduction is technically feasible, legally accepted, accessible, and financially available in Taiwan, some women had their own risk calculation. They fear of miscarriage by fetal reduction, more concern about the procedure, trust in personal efforts to maintain healthy pregnancies by themselves, and some preference for multiple births after a long time suffering of infertility. So we can imagine that we have many multiple births, even we have the available techniques of fetal reduction to solve the problems. So since the late 1990s, the Premature Baby Foundation in Taiwan found that the increasing numbers of premature babies in Taiwan came from twins and triplets following IVF treatments. So the leaders of the Premature Baby Foundation, a social worker, together with some other pediatricians, started to point out that multiple embryo transfer was the origin of the health issues for the low-weight babies. So the Taiwanese Society of Reproductive Medicine had to respond to this kind of criticism. So they initiated some informed consent to inform the patients about the risk, or they have some patients' education. But eventually, they felt that they have to provide a kind of clinical guideline. So this is the first clinical guideline they offer. You can see up to 5 embryos you can transfer for women who are older or with this is by age. At that time, this is by age. And this is pretty much a revision of American guideline, just more lenient. So some doctors call it the American model +1. So this is the way we first offered our guideline. So you can imagine that things would not change too much. So when we had this assisted reproduction law in 2007, the number of embryo transferred was not regulated by the government. It is the feminist legislator, Huang Shuying, who proposed to limiting the number of embryo as no more than 4. It's still very lenient, but this is a kind of balance between the risk of multiple pregnancy and risk of low success rate. Because in Taiwan, IVF has never been covered by national health insurance. We almost have no subsidy program for even we have the ultra low fertility rates in the world, but no subsidy program. So for the patients, it's out of pocket money. So multiple pregnancy means more cost efficient. And for clinics, they have this pressure of market competition. So they have to reach the success rate first, or announce that they have a really good success rate, but usually by implanting more embryos. So you can see the result is that even though it's the guideline, this a little bit decrease, but still we have 26% of IVF cycles as IVF births as multiples, and one third of the IVF babies suffered the low birth rate. Finally, the South Korea. The very first test babies are already twins. But if they were born in Seoul National University Medical Hospitals about 6 months later than that in Taiwan. So because in that time it's a family planning area, so doctors wouldn't, celebrate that too loudly, and they were also afraid that the infertile couples may face some sort of pressures from the public. So doctors kept the case very low profile. It's a boy and girl. It showed up on the news only one day, according to John Wall's research. So there has been very minimal regulation of ART in South Korea. Actually, you have heard a lot about that in the 2 days conference. Few very vague guidelines from the medical society, and since it's low profile, there's no interest to intervene from the government. And it only has voluntary registry system and with low reporting rates. And fetal reduction, like that in Taiwan, became the technical solutions for Korean doctors of high order multiple pregnancy. So Korea only had this Bioethics and Safety Act to regulate the embryo for production, for research. So it's not about IVF practices. So clinics have to report how many embryos you made, but there's no regulation on number of embryo transfer in South Korea. And for the registry system, you can see they compare the success with, this is a Korean success rate, and they list the data in the US and Europe and discuss like whether Korean reached the success rate as good as other advanced countries. So success matters. Like us, Korean has a low fertility rate, so 2005, the government was shocked. It's almost 1. So they started a subsidy program. Through the subsidy program, the state felt pressure to have some kind of guideline for number of embryo transfer. So the number of embryo, the guideline, you see, is 2008. At that time, Japan already had 1 embryo transfer principle, but in South Korea, it's up to 5. Again, it's follow the American guideline, right? But it's kind of American model plus 0.5, I will say, not 1. So eventually in Korea, in South Korea, the single embryo transfer is seldom practiced, and the percentage of multiple births remains high. And the Korean government revised the guideline in 2015, so it's up to 3 according to the age and the quality of the embryos. South Korea initiated the first national health insurance coverage in East Asia in October 2017, 2 years ago. So, but the goal of the government is to produce more babies. So, from that parentalist policy, they don't care about the, I think whether it's born of triplets or twin or triplets. So far, there's no report about the health of babies or mothers under this new regulation. The time is up, but I need to tell you my conclusion. So multiple pregnancy as the most common adverse outcomes of IVF treatment is well recognized. And some people say, many medical societies in the world claim that it's the greatest avoidable risk of IVF. So my puzzle is that why does this risk prevention models does not work accordingly in East Asia? I think ultimately multiple pregnancies means differently in different contexts. In Taiwan and South Korea, multiple pregnancies signalize success rather than failure or disruption. So high success rate cannot be compromised, even though some action were initiated. But the control measures are very lenient. Even though in Japan, they have I think a very good guideline, still multiple pregnancy were interpreted as medical colleagues overwork rather than the women's risky pregnancy and birth, which triggered the kind of action. And but we celebrate that Taiwan has the kind of very high success rate, but Japan is in bottom. But it's at expense of multiple embryo transfer. And even though we initiate some guidelines through law, but it's not useless. Only strict guideline works. Then the Japanese case tells us the story. So the result is Taiwan #1 and Korea #2 in terms of the number of embryo transfer in IVF. And also, I think the reproductive politics differs. In Japan, the self-regulation is strong, and interprofessional conflicts may play an important factor. In Taiwan, we have stronger civil society, so it's initiated by the feminist legislators and Premature Baby Foundation, but they compromise with the success rate too much. In South Korea, I would say that it is through the state subsidy program that the state finally got involved with some control measures. So for policy implications, I think we should reframe success. There are some other calculations to redefine success. For example, if you have twins and triplets, it's value, it's not success. So the US has this new definition, percentage of cycle resulting in normal weight and singleton live births. Or there is other ways to calculate success, such as cumulative success rate. So you can implant one embryo at one time, but the success rate won't look low. Another important issue is about subsidy. I think for both patients who have to face the financial burden and for the cost efficient, if we have more subsidy, they might accept the procedures of single embryo transfer. So I would advocate for a subsidy for example, in Taiwan, with the requirement of a single embryo transfer to solve the problems. So sorry for take too much time, and thank you for your attention.